Awesome. Well, you are 100% in the right place if you came to the Intellinet Network Solution webinar, where we're connecting great people and we're connecting those great people with even better products. What an awesome opportunity. Today, we're going to think a little bit different. We're going to answer some questions about how do we start building a great network and what do we partner that with when it comes to switching. We're also going to talk to you about redefining what partnership looks like and where that can come about. I'm Pete Hollenhorst, and I work as the Director of Sales for Intellinet Network Solutions and IC Intercom. Today, I'm joined by two really great faces up at the top of your screen, Don Grimmy and Tom Gallo from Island Router. Don's with us from Intellinet and IC Intercom. Don's going to advance to the next slide where we're going to talk a little bit about the agenda today. And, when we talk about the agenda today, we're talking about really great partnership, not only between products, but between companies. So I mentioned Tom Gallo's joined us. We're going to talk about a new partnership with the Island Router and spend some time today with the team at Island Router. They're here in that chat section with us. Don's going to take you through a really great couple of examples of why faster speeds are important, not only for a network switch, but also in your cabling. And then I'm going to take you through that Performance Pro package along with Armando de Blasio and talk to you about what it means to become a Performance Pro. So this is an opportunity to sit back, get comfortable, invest in us while we invest in you. Now, if you'll do me a favor, up at the right-hand side of your screen, there's going to be that question box. That's that TV screen with the question box area that's out there. This is a perfect example or perfect opportunity for you to come through and interact directly with us. Now, we've got some great folks that have joined us. Chuck's here. Claudia, so good to see you. Dave Silkin, thank you. George, we're seeing Michael and Rhonda as well. Lots of folks, and we'll have more that are joining in. But if you do me a favor right now, it is the end of the summer. What is the one thing that you need to do before the end of the summer to officially call it summer and getting ready for fall? Or better said, how do you know it's the end of summer? Is it something that you're barbecuing? Is it something that you're putting away? But just go ahead and hit that question box. Type something in. Already see the fingers working there in the audience. Thank you so much. Lots of good responses starting to come in. We're seeing a lot come through. Folks, thank you so much for working with me. Josh is indicating right now, I was just going to talk about it. Lots of football fans that are here. And Rhonda's noting the traffic as well that's coming out. All really, really great examples. I know that we're getting close to the end of summer because all of a sudden we're not focused on the vacation homes, but we start to see more security products getting sorted. We start to see that install community get ready to go. We're starting to see the announcements for CEDIA. Lots of different things that are coming through. Um, love to see all these great examples coming up. Don's going to take us to the next page where we talk a little bit about transition. And when we talk about transition, what we're talking about is not just being a manufacturer, but understanding the everyday installer. Today at an Intellinet and with Island, these are products that are focused on the essential areas that an installer uses daily. And our goal for both companies today and why this partnership works so well is that we want to reflect the real work environment beyond what traditional models are taking into place. We're providing key SKUs for installers, not just the esoteric SKUs, but SKUs that installers are habitually using and form the backbone of their installation activities. You can't do an install today and not do networking. And so we're putting an emphasis on those frequently used SKUs. As we transition to the next slide, and guys, thank you so much right now for all the great feedback. We're going to talk to you about comprehensive product coverage. 90% of everything that you're looking for in an active and a passive networking need is carried right here at IC Intercom. And what you're getting, whether you're buying through distribution or buying directly from us, is that streamlined purchasing process, something that's designed to reduce the complexity, something that saves you time and provides that really reliable and quality support that you're most interested in. Now, when we talk about IC Intercom, Don, why don't you take us to that next slide? What we're talking about is our focus and our capabilities. What a great opportunity, though, to go through four really key pillars and talking about innovative product development. Because we manufacture and we work with 120 different factories worldwide, we're able to bring products that are installer focused and accessories that enhance not only the daily life of your customers, but make your job easier. And because we're working directly with the manufacturers, in some cases, those are us, it is for Island, we're able to offer some really great competitive pricing and able to maintain those strong profit margins that are out there. Now, I mentioned those 120 different factories. This isn't just centered in China. This is throughout all of Asia that does a great job with consistent high quality production. And it allows us to continuously follow up and fulfill that mission of being a preferred partner, not just in sourcing, but in collaboration, in terms of building and in terms of profitability. We want to support and take a leadership area in that installed growth. Now, I know that's important for Josh. Josh, hold on, because I'm going to show you in this next slide with Don exactly why that's so important. It's not just what we're doing in switches. When we talk about switches, of course, we're talking about PoE on products. So the ability to do this in a passive and in an active environment, to work with a variety of different power budgets and to be able to go extended lengths with extenders, that's a huge capability of what we do. It's probably what we're most known for, is that PoE experience. But if you're going to have switches, you've got to have really, really good cables. Don's got a great example coming up later about fiber optic patch cables and adapters that are there, and you won't believe the speeds that we're talking about. Speaking about cables, we can get into patch cables as well. Look, we really would like to be the default leader for you in terms of what you're sourcing and using on the regular. Now, you're very familiar, I believe it, on Cat 5e cable, and we've been talking ad nauseum about Cat 6 and Cat 6a, but please don't sleep on Cat 8. This is a huge, huge growth area for us. We've got this in multiple lengths. We've got it in multiple colors and different thicknesses, but one of the big things that I like are those snag-free boots for reliable connections. So if we're going to do switches and we're going to do these great fiber optic and regular patch cables, you got to have a place and a destination. So we've got panels, patches, racks, and cabinets. Oh my! A dedicated home or an ollie ollie oxen-free place for all of this stuff to collate and aggregate. And then, of course, what's a good install without taking a moment to make sure you've got your tools and your testers that are out there. We've got those essential devices as well. So really what this comes down to on the next slide, and where we're taking all of this great messaging, is right over here in a second. Don's going to bring us through is advanced PoE solutions. Look, I'm sure you've talked with a network manufacturer in the last 90 days that are going to talk to you about PoE pass-through technology. But we're able to actually do this in some very meaningful ways, not just passing through, but doing that in an outdoor environment, doing something in a passive network switch that allows for a self-healing feature. And one of the things that that Pete's originally from California, because I get excited talking about it, is that green Ethernet message where we're energy efficient and we're actually able to deactivate those unused ports. And all of this is backed with a really strong 3-year warranty for the installer to be able to process. These all add up to a partner that wants to work with you and is bringing a really great full-time solution that's out. I'm really excited about the opportunities that are in front of you right now. Don, take us to that next page. And what we can do here is we can talk about this new horizon that's up. And if you're using the AI today, it is absolutely incredible the amount of data traffic that you're now starting to put through. This is the reason why we pull cables today to support PoE, to support higher speed switches, and to work with really good routers. And it's my privilege to talk to you about a new partnership between Intellinet and Island Router, who also, it's not just a router, it's a firewall. And this leads to a great partnership with some really good people. One of those great people today that you're going to hear from is Tom Gallo. And we're going to go to the next slide. It's a really fancy picture of him. But Tom is amazing. He's the Chief Revenue Officer at PerfTech. They've got this product line called Island. And Tom, thank you so much for joining us. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about why Island and why this great partnership. Welcome.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much. Delighted to be here. And I'm not just delighted to be with Peter and Don, but the entire Intellinet team, to be a guest with that team, Ian and Josh and Armando, Lisa, Taylor, Andy, and Sarit, just a terrific team. I visited them recently in Oldsmar, and terrific folks. And I'm excited, really excited to tell you about Island, a new router from our company, Perf Tech. And if we go to the next slide, you'll take a look and see that you may ask, who are these guys? I've never heard of them. If you're new and you haven't heard of Island, let me give you just a brief overview of about 50 years that this development team has been together. In the upper left, our team in San Antonio, Texas, was one of the group that started some of the first microprocessors that we sold to Intel. And then that gentleman, John Murphy, he's in the office next to me, he developed ArcNet, the predecessor to Ethernet. So networking is in our DNA. That's an overused phrase, but it really is. Our team knows networking. So when you think about who are these guys and you learn about Island, you know, the first thing that should come to mind as a channel partner, as an integrator, as a dealer is, wow, these guys really know networks. In the upper right, we did some of the earliest networking software before it was built into operating systems. In the lower left, there's a product called Instant Internet. June of '95, we were on the cover of PC Magazine as editor's choice. It was one of the first branch routers, if not the first branch routers for small to medium business. And then we were purchased by Bay Networks. Some of you may remember Bay Networks. Bay was purchased by Nortel. And then in the early 2000s, in the lower right, you'll see we spun out. And for the last 25 years, we've been doing high capacity, high speed, very, very elegant networking products for 8 of the top 10 ISPs in North America. We have a bunch of patents along the way. In red, you can see a bunch of firsts. I won't go through them all. And then down at the bottom, you can see some of the very high quality end user customers that our channel partners have brought our products to over the decades. So that's a little bit about who we are. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the product called Island and why we developed it. If we go to the next slide. So it's really just 2 products. And I say just because we're focused. We're focused on the router firewall function. And we'll talk a little bit about how that's been buried in ISP modems and buried in cheap access points. And it's about ready to be resurrected in a very important way because of the environment. And if you look at these 2 products, the one rack mount that you see is our Island Pro with multi-gig ports, and the smaller one is our original Island with 1 gig port. So you may ask the question, well, that sounds good, but why do we need another router firewall? So if we go to the next slide, you'll see why. Because on the close horizon, there is a tidal wave headed our way. And in many cases, many people believe it's here. And the really important piece is networks today are not ready for this tidal wave. And this tidal wave is made up of several elements that are impacting primarily performance. So let's advance to the next slide and we'll see what those new realities are in the marketplace and in the environment. In the upper right, we know about Wi-Fi 7 and beyond. In the Wi-Fi access points that all of us rely on in our homes, in retail sites, in small to medium businesses, in schools, they're only as good as the router that feeds that broadcast antenna. And the routers that feed that right now are not adequate for what's coming. They may be fine now. We may accept what they're doing now, but what's coming and what is on the close horizon, we're going to need stronger router capabilities. In the lower right, if we embed security, and if you look at Fortinet, at SonicWall and Meraki and others that have optional network modules that focus on security, that impacts performance. So the routing function, the routing engine, the software and hardware that takes those packets and moves them around the LAN and all over the WAN has to be robust. It has to be robust even in a security environment. And then in the lower left, you know, it's very, very important to have low latency today for all the things that we're doing with the proliferation of IoT devices. But it's going to be even more important in the upper left there. I'll end with AI, not just the large language models and the training that the world is focused on today in the core. We know what compute and servers have done, what AI has done to them. Just look at NVIDIA. with the large language model, storage has gone crazy. But what about the network? What will AI large language model training, but more importantly, AI inference, which means when AI moves to the edge and it's no longer training the model, but now applying the model to make decisions with devices and laptops and phones, and now it moves to the edge, perhaps for privacy reasons and for security and latency reasons, the network congestion is going to be substantial. So it's not just me saying it. And the reason we developed Island and we took our carrier code and really took that very fast carrier code that could handle millions of users and put it in a small to medium business and smart home router is because of this tidal wave that's coming. We saw it coming, and it's very, very important to have performance. And again, it's not just me saying it. We advance to the next slide. We all know Cisco. And Chuck Robbins, the CEO, just this spring in their quarterly conference call said this. They see customers investing heavily in modernizing their infrastructure because of agentic AI. The network is key because of the real-time communication. But look at that second paragraph. Not just the core, not just the hyperscalers like Amazon and Google and Microsoft and Meta, but the campus, the enterprise, the small business, and prem, homes included. The owners, the IT folks will not know exactly what those applications are, but they know they have to have the most modern networks they can have. So the routing function has been buried, but this tidal wave is coming that is going to make it that much more important than it has been in the past. So let's go to the next slide. When you look on the left at why legacy routers today are failing in this new world, this new reality, it's because of the low-end hardware and the open source software. Our code we've been working on for decades. Most routers in this market, in our space, use OpenWRT. How does that manifest itself? Slow failover, bogged down under load, the need to reboot. You may drop packets, and things like VLANs, VPN, port forwarding, DHCP reservations, they may be slow and hard to do. Island makes all of that elegantly easy. And then those new realities that we talked about, including embedded security, increase the risk for SMB and home to really bog down. So the bottom line there is, as I've mentioned before, that routing function has been buried. Many companies like SonicWall and Fortinet don't even call their products routers. They call them firewalls because security has a bit more of a better ring. Well, firewalls are important, and we have the tremendous security capabilities that I'll talk about in a minute, but the routing function is really what we are focused on and making sure that that is top notch. On the right side, these new reality strain switches as well, and that's where we're delighted to be teaming with Intellinet, not only for their reliability and for their performance, but for their ability to deliver PoE. You know, PoE, I asked an expert recently, I said, what inning, if it was a ball game, is PoE in? And I thought it might be the sixth or seventh. It's really in the second or third. PoE is so important, and I believe nobody does it better than Intellinet in terms of PoE. And you installers really know how important that is. So customers are compelled to upgrade their Ethernet infrastructure. So let's look at the next slide and how Island is different. And the two products that you see there, again, they're wired router. We're not Wi-Fi. We'll work with any AP, and we work perfectly with Intellinet switches. We focus on the routing function. All of our ports are routed ports, not switch ports. All of our ports are routed. So let's look at how this router is different with the next slide. If you remember anything from my portion of the presentation today, three very simple things. It's faster, it's safer, and it's easier for the installer and the end users to use. So how is it faster? Well, number one, the capacity up to 10,000 devices and greater than 1,000 VLANs and multi-WAN failover in milliseconds is commercial grade, is enterprise grade. And that's because of our source code. Again, we don't use open source code, and we have a modular architecture that really pulls out that performance. And then speed in terms of moving packets. Well, I'll show you some benchmarks here shortly on another slide, but Our Pro can move 14 million packets per second, our rack mount version, 850,000 connections per second, and I'll show you how that compares with the rest of the market, which in today's world does okay, but in the tidal wave that's coming, okay isn't going to be good enough. So we're faster in terms of capacity and speed. So along with that performance, we're safer as well. We've got a next-gen firewall. We've got best-in-class URL content filtering. It's the web route that is updated on a minute-by-minute basis with the latest threat intelligence. And then we've got the WireGuard VPN built in. We've done it so elegantly, including Island Express, which makes island-to-island sites very, very easy to set up. You installers, I know VPNs are tough with public keys and private keys. We make it simple as can be. And then Don is going to talk a lot about network segmentation in terms of our security capability, but we can slice and dice networks by users, by devices, by groups that makes it so simple and secure for guest networks, for kids, for IoT devices, for cameras. Even in the business workplace, you can have departmental devices and you can control access and security down to the device level. For example, you may have a small business where marketing gets social networking on all their devices all day long, but sales and operations and finance and shipping get social networking just during the lunch hour. That's just one example of the things you can do with the segmentation capabilities to slice and dice users, groups, and devices that with a tap or a swipe with our application. And then in addition to faster and safer, we make complex network tasks simple. And we're proud of that because it comes from our 40 years of networking experience. And things like VLANs and port forwarding and multi-WAN, network takeover, going into an existing network and upgrading the router, we make super easy, and VPN as well. I'll show you a capability we call Smart Swap, and I'll show you how cool that is when you go into an existing network to inhale all the work that's already been done, device names, VLANs, etc. So it's all done so that you installers can get on with your next job with the rest of your life. So faster, safer, and easier is how we're different. Let's look at the faster piece. So this is just one example of many benchmarks that we have. And this is TCP connection rates. And if you look at the chart underneath it, we'll talk about what that is. Browsing to a site is hundreds, if not thousands, of split-second connections. Think about weather.com. If you look at weather.com, you've got radar maps, and you've got forecast, and you've got moving winds maps, and you've got videos, and all these different things. The router has to make connections in and out, hundreds of those per second. And if you look at all the different products to the right in orange, you may use some of those, and they may be just fine today. But we didn't build Island for today. We were forward thinking. We built Island for tomorrow. And the Island Pro, as well as the existing 1 gig Island, if we had the 1 gig Island in blue there, it'd be 140,000 connections per second, which blows everybody else away. So for that storm that's coming, we are going to be able to take just this one benchmark and be top of class in terms of performance. And if we look at another benchmark, the next slide is DNS lookup rates. And again, that is a very common thing that routers have to do to translate a website name into its respective IP address. Well, we are able to do that with our carrier code for the last 25 years for millions of customers. That same code is in Island. And we can do 1.3 million DNS lookups per second, where the rest of the world can do at most 53,000. And that, again, is fine. These products are good today. The world is changing. The world is changing, and we were forward thinking, looking to use a hockey analogy, not where the puck is, but we wanted to produce a product and deliver a product which has been on the market now for 2 years to where the puck is going. So let's look at the next slide. How about security? Well, security we've made easy. So on boot up, on configuration, boot up, we handle botnets and malware and adware and phishing. We take care of all of that. It's all blocked. And we've got umbrella filters that make it simple. That's all one umbrella. With 2 umbrellas, you'll take away all mature content. So I've had Island in my home for 3 years. My grandkids will never get to a site that I don't want them to get to on their iPads or on their little devices that they use. In the workplace, you can easily set it up to give privileges for any of your different departments and divisions. So the security is there with the next gen firewall. We've got the ability to set up different segmentation. Don will talk a little bit about that. We can assign VPNs to users or devices and cameras, for instance. You can take all your cameras, make a group of cameras with a tap and a swipe, and then hit the custom filter, the custom URL that those cameras can go and receive from just one site, that cloud site that they need to report what they're seeing that you want to be able to view. So we take all the capability of hackers or bad actors away in a very simple, elegant way that doesn't need the installer to do any configuration. One last thing, if new users join the network, they can immediately go to a guest VLAN that gives very limited privileges until we know who that device or that user is. So we make security easy. Next slide, Dom. This is really exciting, and that is, if you look to the right, our app is so cool. We really take the hierarchy in the middle there, devices, which are things, laptops, they may be cameras, they could be shades, they could be lighting, it could be AV, it could be your phones, any devices that are on the network, and you name them. It's Tom's phone, it's Don's laptop, it is the AV in the conference room or the man cave. And then the users are people, and you can see exactly what those users are. And then there's groups, which could be a group of cameras or door locks or Ring or all the different departments you can make. That could be finance in a small to medium business. So what we've done is making hard technology easy to segment the network, and we've done that in a way that we've heard back from installers and end users that really, really like it. The control and visibility of the network is something that's a new paradigm. And then in the lower left there, I mentioned Smart Swap, network takeover, going into an existing network and be able to install Island, leave the existing router in there, plug into the switch. Within 90 seconds or less, we will bring in all the information that existing network has built up. So for the installer, now he's got device names. He's got VLANs. It's all inhaled. One of our sales guys uses that phrase. I love it. It inhales all the work that's been done. Even DHCP reservations, all you have to do is hit save because it'll come back with the device and the IP address that's been assigned to it. So it's very, very easy to do network takeover. That's just one example of making hard technology easy that has been our development team's trademark for the last 40 years. So if we go to the next slide, we'll take a look at some specifics. Again, two models, routed routers, wired routers, not wireless, even though our product, our original Island on the right, some folks say it looks like an access point. It's a wired router. Again, we work with any access point. We work with switches. The ideal switches to work with are Intellinet. But if you look on the left, the Island Pro, 14 million packets per second. You put that against most other products in this class, they're around 200,000 packets per second. 850,000 connections, we talked about that. The ports, all the ports are routed ports, not switch ports. And we've got a lot of ports there in case you want physical LANs along with our VLANs as well. Or you may want more than just dual WAN, dual ISPs. You may want to have an AT&T fiber, a Verizon 5G, and a Starlink in a business. But you can do as many as you need to there. 6 2.5 gig, 4 10 gig SFP plus ports, and our MSRP you can see there at $12.99. On the right, 2 million packets per second. Again, the small original 1 gig Island with 4 1 gig routed ports, 130,000 connections per second blows everybody away in terms of the actual packet engine and 2 million packets per second. And we've made that very, very accessible at an MSRP of $4.99. So down at the bottom, you can see some of our really key attributes: multi-WAN, seamless VLANs, VPN, no subscription fees. You look at Meraki and Fortinet and SonicWall, that aligns with our products in terms of the market that they go to. Not only are the capabilities better in terms of our router performance, but the economics work much better with no subscription fees. Not over distributed, and our support is based in San Antonio, Texas, and it's in-house US based. Just a couple more slides and then I'll hand it over to Don. If we go to the next one. where does Island fit? If we go to the next slide, we'll see what we've created, similar to the Gartner Magic Quadrant, where you put where these different companies and their products fit. Only we've changed the x-axis and y-axis to be relevant to this discussion and to their performance. For the x-axis, muscle in terms of feature set and capability, and then the vertical y-axis, usability, ease of install. Is it intuitive or is it not intuitive? And if you look in the lower right, you can see Fortinet and SonicWall. They're very, very robust. They do a lot of things. They don't hit our performance, as I previously mentioned, but they do a lot of different things, but they're very, very complex to work. And in the upper left, you've got Eero. It's easy to use in TP-Link, but it doesn't do a lot of the things that the folks on the right can. We've positioned Island, and we've had feedback from the market that you've done exactly that. You've given us a commercial/enterprise grade router, and you've made it simple and easy to use and install. That's a true paradigm shift. It's easy, fast to deploy, but enterprise grade. Next slide. So 2 more slides, and I want to start with a couple of quotes from the media guys. And Matt Whitlock in the upper left, he is the technical editor at Channel Pro, and Channel Pro is kind of the umbrella arm for MSPs and commercial VARs in the SMB world, similar to Cedia is for the audiovisual world and the home automation world. Matt took one of our original islands and put it in his home and tested it in his lab and home for about 4 months. You can see his words there. Unlike any other router, in a category by itself, a new bar for usability and performance. And we won some awards at Channel Pro. You can see there we were Hardware Solution of the Year. In the lower left, in the home automation Cedia space, Arlen Schweiger, the Chief Content Officer, tested it and said it's truly an enterprise-grade solution. They brought to the custom residential SMB market after 20 years of experience serving the commercial sector. So we're proud of the awards we've won, but the most important award is the next slide, and that is the feedback we get from dealers, installers like you. You guys are the ones that will determine whether it's a good product or not. And again, we've been out for 2 years. The original Island's been out for a little more than 2 years. The Pro's been out for about 8 months. But if you look at Stephen Bronner in the upper left, he said the company has the pedigree, but the product does everything it said it did. And then I love Mark Moore, terrific guy, Tomorrow Entertainment, just north of Atlanta in Dalton, Georgia. He said, I've been doing this for 30 years. We're not IT guys, we're AV guys. Island serves a gaping void in our industry because it now makes my installers IT guys, because you make all those complex network things easy and easy for them to replicate over and over on installs. On the right, you can see a beast for speed from Jeff, and then Willie Howe in the lower right. You can't slow this thing down. And he is a tech influencer that put it on and did a test on it. We invest in the integrator just like Intellinet does, and you'll hear Pete talk about the investment that they're making in the channel and in dealers and installers. And it's why I'm delighted to be a guest here, because it really is a match made in heaven here with Intellinet switches and with Island router. So if we go to the next slide, the last thing I want to share is there currently is a bundle, distributor value bundle. So if you check with your distributors, it's a Q3 bundle. It started July 1st, so we're right smack in the middle of it. It goes to September 30th, where purchasing an Island router with any of the featured Intellinet PoE switches, there's some economic incentives and promotions. Your distributors will have all those details. So we're delighted to be teaming with Intellinet and their fine line of switches in the channel in terms of this bundle. And I really appreciate Pete and Don and all you guys that are listening for us to share a little bit about the Island router. So with that, I'll turn it over to Don, and he'll tell you more about Intellinet and how Island can work together.
Okay, thank you so much. So today we're going to talk a little bit about really the feature that we both share is network segmentation. That's a huge thing for all Intellinet switches. We have VLANs. We have a few switches that offer VLANs with just literally you press a button and you have VLANs at each port. So the Island router has a better way of doing this on the layer 3 level. So where your Intellinet switches are on layer 2, the Island would be on layer 3 as the router. So you can use our products and theirs together to have better network segmentation. And essentially, your idea would be to lock a potential attacker into a small part of your network, and so they can't get into the whole network. What we're going to start with is the multi-gig switches. We just started some new product lines where we have a 10 gig switch, some 5 gigs, some 2.5 gigs, and then our main switch line is that 1 gig switch. So really, when we're talking about 10 gig switches with Island, one of the things we want to talk about is essentially with these two products combined, you can make essentially a corporate cloud. So that would mean that you can have a firewall blocking access to a specific server. So here we have a marketing server, and all of our videos are on that server. We have 10G switches, so we can even have our employees edit directly from the server, and nobody's downloading, finishing, and then re-uploading to the server. So now with Island, what we can do is we can say, all right, I only want people in the marketing group access to that server. And we can have a VPN login, and we can gate that server. From an attacker standpoint, my background is in IT, cybersecurity. I have a few certifications in IT, hacking, and then ethical hacking. So looking at this from the point of an attacker, if you were trying to attack a network with Island on it, you would have to have multiple entry points. So on a standard network, or what we call a flat network, if you're an attacker, that's the best case scenario. You would go into any device and you could get to any other device. And there's some networks that are like this. You'll get into one of these networks and you can see everyone's device in the network. But with an Island device, you'd have your network segmented. So if you get into a network segment, maybe it's just marketing, maybe it's just sales. So that's one of the really powerful things with this Island router. And then with your VLANs from Intellinet, and you can use those both together to have a much safer, more secure network. But before we go to the next slide, the one big thing is that VPN. You can VPN lock these network segments. So if someone, for example, I'm going to put my network with that NAS on port 1, then my network attached storage, which is like a large file server. So I'm going to lock down port 1, but then if somebody got accidental access into port 2, maybe I left a couple of my cameras with the passwords admin, and a botnet came through, scanned my network, and they just logged in. This would be blocked by Island if that botnet was a known botnet. Maybe it's just a new 1 or 2 guys. Still, you're protected on port 1. They would only be able to get into port 2. So that's really how this network segmentation would work. And then you have advanced additional protection with Island, where we're talking about using that web root connection, where it's saying, okay, well, most of these botnets are known. Most of these botnets are known actors. Like 95% of cyber attacks are people that we've known. They've used the same IPs a couple times. It's only when you're getting into what's called a 0-day where that doesn't stop your defenses. So this is a huge upgrade where we can stop any known or attacks that have happened a few times. We're like, okay, we're just going to block all traffic from them. They're on a bad actors list. So that's a huge benefit. So going back to our 10G switches, 10G switches offer access to network servers. And because of that 10G cable, you're actually faster than you would be writing to your own SSD. So we can have people write to one of those servers faster than they can to their own device. And when we combine that with Island, we can create networks using that WireGuard VPN. If you guys haven't made WireGuard VPN networks, they're extremely easy. There's easier creation with the Island router tools, but you're able to log in with a phone, with any device, and it's very easy. So with those 10G switches, all the computers in that segment, they're talking to each other much faster. You would need to upgrade your network cards for all the devices in that segment, but this means that something like a 100 gigabyte database, instead of taking 10 minutes on a 1G connection, it could take, 10 gigs. So it would take 10 minutes instead of taking on the 1 gig network where it would take almost 2 hours. So you're saving a lot of time and you have a faster network segment, and it's a secure network segment. So with these tools, we're basically making a low cost corporate cloud. So a lot of times we're paying a lot of money for Office 365 subscriptions. with these two tools combined, you'd be able to essentially make your own cloud, cancel that Office 365, and just have your own local Office server and allow users in and out access and then job-based access. So that's a huge tool that can save you as an installer or an IT provider a lot of money. And also, when we start talking about security, if we're using different tools, then it's harder to attack those tools, because a lot of times when we're dealing with cybercrime, they're not inventing new viruses. They're going to places where essentially those viruses are sold and they're buying them. So when we're switching from something that's very common like Fortinet SonicWall, there's a lot of viruses made for a Fortinet router. Right now, Fortinet themselves is a huge, you have to be on top of it. You have to be updating every single day. And that's a huge security vulnerability. Even a few months ago, Cisco routers, specific models were targeted by Chinese state actor groups. So when we're looking at something like Island, there's probably no known vulnerabilities for this. Nobody sold those. And that's something that the security team at Island is always looking for and always kind of keeping in their back of their mind. Okay, so network segmentation. When we're talking about this proper network segmentation, the idea is if someone gets into your network, they don't get into the whole thing. We essentially only let them into one room of the office instead of the entire office. So each port becomes its own network, and cyber attacks can't travel easily through that type of network. So one example that I use a lot for network segmentation was an attack, a cyber attack that happened to Saudi Aramco. And they were huge, they still are, they're a huge company in Saudi Arabia, the biggest, I believe the biggest in the world. And they had offices from all the way at the bottom of Saudi Arabia to the top. So it would be like, if we put it in US terms, it'd be like offices from Miami to Chicago to LA. And this state group actor from Iran got into their network. Because they had a flat network with no network segmentation, they were able to take out essentially every computer from Miami to Chicago to LA and wipe them out completely. If they had proper network segmentation, they only would have been able to get to maybe the marketing department or the IT department or whichever employee opened that initial phishing email, which was their point of entry. And that's another great feature about Island. A lot of those phishing emails aren't anything new. They're a known attack using a known PDF-based virus. So Island's going to have webroot on it, and when that user tries to open that known virus, it's going to block them because it's from a known IP that's delivering viruses. So going back to how these two products work together, each port on this network, on that Island router, becomes its own network, essentially. So you would have to create a payload for each of those ports, and instead of trying to attack 10 or one network, now you're trying to attack all 10. So it's much more difficult for attackers. A lot of these cybercrime groups are very financially oriented. So if something is difficult, they give up, they leave, and they go make problems for someone else. So the more complex it is, the better it is for us, and the worse it is for them. So now going back to our 2.5G switches, these we have them in both PoE and Ethernet. In PoE, a 2.5G switch is perfect for a Wi-Fi 6 access point, or Wi-Fi 7. It's perfect for those newer high-speed access points. When we're talking about PoE switches for Ethernet, it's going back to just like when we talk about 10G, you're getting a faster switch. A lot of residential NAS or network attack servers, they have a 2.5G port. So you would attach your laptop, and we have a little device from Manhattan that is an adapter. You'd plug that adapter into your laptop, you'd attach it to the switch, and then you'd attach the NAS to the switch, and everybody in the house will get faster streaming. In my house, we have one of these for the RV, and when we're traveling, we can listen to any of the movies, music, anything like that that we have a physical copy of. We move over to the NAS, and then when we're traveling in the RV, we can watch that from any of the connected devices. With a 2.5G switch, we just doubled our speed to get all of those movies, all of that music streaming on any computer that's connected physically in the RV or in the house. So we're talking a little bit more about those 2.5G switches. And another thing about our 10Gs, or actually on our 2.5Gs, all of them have an SFP plus port. So our last product we're going to talk about today is called a DAC cable. And what these do is essentially they're plug and play. They're a mixture of both kind of, they look like fiber, but they're actually copper. So what this is a really well made cable, and you just connect one end to the other. And it makes the entire process of a high speed connection between two switches very simple. So with these island and with our 2.5G and 10G switches, you have these SFP plus ports. You can either connect fiber. So say we have an office here in Tampa, we could connect one to one of the suburbs 30, 40, 50 kilometers out, and then we would just use one cable to communicate back and forth. Okay, so that's really a lot of the things that we want to talk about with Intellinet is network segmentation. With the island router, with that firewall built in, there's so much more that it adds. When we're thinking about cybersecurity, most of these attacks aren't something new. A lot of the attacks are things that we've seen over and over and over. A lot of these malware groups use the same code, the same viruses over and over. With Island, those are going to have a known hash, and anything that's sending out that IP is just going to be blocked. So you have a much smarter, much safer internet with very little configuration. All right, so I'm going to bring it back over to Pete, and he's going to talk about a Performance Pro program.
What a great look that you gave. Those DAC cables, we talked about this in the morning session. I was so grateful to see these. I do a little bit of field work once a quarter just so that I can keep my chops up. And Dave still can definitely come back. I'm sure he's already typing away. So the crew asked me, it's Josh Coldiron asked me, he was like, hey, can you put an end on this fiber? And all right, yeah, sure. Dude, I've done a little bit with Cat. Oh my gosh, what an absolute difference. I'm like, oh, okay, and then I'm ducking around the corner and trying to pull up a YouTube video. So to see the speeds that you can do this at now, I heard you say 40 gig, Don. What was the others?
Yeah, we have 10 gig, 25 gigs, and 40 gigs. So we have
Just
those three speeds there.
just absolutely incredible where we've gone. Speaking about where we've gone, and where we are going, let's talk a little bit about the Performance Pro program. It's my first time here to actually come up with a hashtag, and forgive me, I've got teenage girls on the other side. This is my daughter. She calls it the hamburger sign. I don't know why. There, if you're old like me, this is pound, not hashtag. But for my daughter, she calls it the hamburger sign. Maybe it's a Wendy's, but hashtag field crew. As we go into the next slide, let me talk to you a little bit about the Performance Pro program and why this has such meaning for us. And Don's bringing this up right now on that next slide. See it queuing, maybe, hopefully coming up. And what we're doing here with the Performance Pro program is there's an installer focused product strategy. We understand that we don't have all the answers. We understand right now that there is a big, big question mark about what manufacturers are doing to support on the security side, on the datacom side, on the CEDIA side that's out there. One of the absolute biggest things that we're trying to do is bring out those core SKUs that reflect installer needs. This isn't a residential product that's been scaled up to take care of the DIFM and light commercial. These are key SKUs that installers regularly purchase and form the foundation of what it is that you're using daily. We want your input. We want you to be able to engage with us and say, look, those DAC cables, absolutely incredible. Thank you. I don't want to spend the time having somebody splice and go through. We also want you to help us on those essential products where we want to prioritize frequently used products, those habitual, all the way down to the dedicated Molex connectors and the crimps, the tools that are out there. And we want to support products that are enhancing efficiency. One of the things that Josh and I talked about earlier is how critical power budget is these days. And what we want to do with this pro performance group is support installers beyond just the core requirements. And right now, I think most manufacturers, they just want to sell to you. We want to hear from you. We want to learn and we want to partner with you. And that's why we introduced this next slide, which is going to talk a lot about, in just a second, it's going to talk a lot about some of the key areas. Now, do me a favor there, Tom, maybe you'll join me for a second. I'm grabbing my phone. You know that it's Pete's phone. I do some dog training throughout the day. So if you grab your phone with me, we're going to hold that up. I'm going to bring up my photo. I cannot believe that I'm doing this. This is something that my daughter does on a regular basis. All right, so on your mark, get ready. We're going to use our phones here for a couple of different slides. Don, get ready to mash that button with me. All right, here we go. Let's go. We're diving in on this next slide. Here's where you're going to start to use your phone to be able to go through. Now, one of the big cool things here is this Performance Pro program. This is a QR code that if you hold your phone up right now, you should be able to scan that. That's going to take you to a really cool link where you can enroll in. Now, what we're asking you to do is self-identify. Let us know so that we can do some things for you, that we can offer some recognition, that community support, the installation tips, provide some product updates, maybe even a segment from Dawn, and more than just this webinar, and where we do some dedicated trainings, some product updates. The other reason why you've got your phone out now is you're going to toggle quickly off the camera, take another picture. That's going to be this great tech support hotline, although I've got a cool trick in a second, but this is an opportunity to do it. Now, as we go to this next slide, this is where we're going to get really innovative. We're going to take a selfie with the field crew hashtag. And what this is going to do, the actual QR code that's up here is going to let you take any installations that you're doing in the field, and it's going to give you a brag point. Now, this is going to go up to Google Photos. We're going to take a look at some of the better photos that are out there. Now, let me show you how cool this is going to be. Now, Tom, you don't get to participate in this, but you're going to take a selfie with me, and we're going to upload it together. The first person in the afternoon session that does this, I'm marking the time, it's 4:51 Central Standard Time. But if you'll take a selfie with me, upload this to the Google Photo, we're going to give out a 10-pack of patch cables. You tell me the color and the length, but we're going to give out a 10-pack. So here, this is me. I cannot believe that we're doing this. All right. And you want to mark that if you can, hashtag field crew. I'm going to take one more. So I'm counting on you all to send something in. We're going to put this up on Instagram. My daughter calls it the gram. She hates when I say it that way. But if you put it up, send us a photo. We're going to take something. But if you're out in the field, this is a great way for you to interact with us. We want to hear from you. We want to see those great installs coming through. And now we're going to go into the next slide and talk to you about what all this work's going to do. We've got a dedicated Facebook page so that you can see product updates. You can see some really cool videos. We're going to talk about that on the next slide, but that's where we're going to use Facebook right now, maybe even some of your installs. On that LinkedIn, this is where you're going to get notifications about upcoming webinars, upcoming products, upcoming videos. The website's really, really cool because the website's going to take you directly there. This is the opportunity to fill out a form, interact with Dawn. And then we're on all these different platforms. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, Facebook, and probably some that I'm not even aware of and thinking about, something about talking that's out there, although I'm talking right now. You can tell I'm very social media conscious. All right. So, Dawn, this is your opportunity on the next slide to talk about some of the cool things that you've done on social media that's out there and why that matters.
Okay, so here we have our slide about customer support service. We have our tech support hotline here, and we're open Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5:30. And then what we do a lot is if we get a ticket a few times, we always try to make a video about it. So we got a few tickets about, okay, how do I log into a switch? So we made a video about it. And then if you guys have questions like that, where it's something that we can train, we can help you guys with, we're happy to make videos. Another similar one we've done is with our console cables. We showed customers with a quick walkthrough how would you connect to the switch with a console cable. Here are a few test commands. What is the question mark command? And just some really basic stuff like that, where we have documents. And then eventually, if we get enough of those tickets, we turn them into a video and then help you guys out, where they're faster tickets for us and it's an easier process for you guys too.
Also, another great reason to take a picture of that phone number for the US Tech Support Hotline, but we're going to go through that on the next slide. Don? All right, so from sales support, if you've got questions, if you're a distributor on the webinar with us, either right now or in recording, we've got a great phone number that you can call in, 1-813-855-0550. Now, again, this is the last time that you're going to need your phone. Hold this up. That should be the ability to create a contact in your phone. I'm going to go ahead and do it myself. But while you're doing that and importing in that contact number, I'm going to read that off for you, and it gives me a chance to practice my radio voice. That's 888-844-2636. Again, if you're writing that down, it's 888-844-2636. And for the folks in the way back, that's 888-844-2636. And as Don said, we've got a really great technical support line. You can also email us at sales@icintercom if there's more information that you need. That's sales@intercom.com. All right, good news, folks. We are close to the getting, and the getting is almost done. When we go to the next slide, I want to just tease you for a quick sec about why to choose Intellinet. The big reason here is those reliable products. When you take a look at what Island's done, this just breathes excellence. This is a really well executed router with a lot of different product, and it ties so well into high quality PoE switches, some amazing network equipment, and data center solutions for those really professional installations. Tom talks about skating to the puck. Um, there's always a door. Anytime that we're doing an install, there's going to be a door. And a lot of times people see that as a place that's closed off, like I can't go any further through. AI is going to give us an opportunity not to wall off, but actually to knock on that door for opportunity, to expand into other rooms, to expand into other opportunities, and really to focus in on what's important and matters. And that's future proofing, 2.5 gig, 5 gig, 7 gig, 10 gig capability. And we're here for you during that process. If you've got questions, Don's here. I'm here. We've got a great sales team with Ian and Josh, but that expert support is available to you. And it's why we gave you the phone number and all the support. It's why that pro performance program means so much. All of us here on this call today are industry focused. These are specialized solutions, not something that started off for a consumer, not something that started off at the enterprise level, but specific solutions for CDA dealers, security installation, datacom. If you're pulling cable for a living, if you're strapping on a tool belt, we've got a product that's built for you. There's growth and there's partnership here. When we take a look at the next slide, here's the big reason to come back next month. And the single biggest reason to come back next month is we've got a really brilliant idea. And in September's webinar, we'll be right back here. Same bat time, same bat channel. We're going to be back with Oki. You know him as Ryan Nakamoto. His close friends call him Oki. And he's going to be joining the field crew coming through to talk about some really exciting things coming out with Brilliant right now. And they're going to talk about it at the CEDIA Expo in Denver. You don't have to go all the way to Denver. You can just log in virtually with us here. Some quick housekeeping notes before we go to the end slide is just to remind you, this call is being recorded, so you can't say, this is my Johnny Cash moment, you can't say any of those bad words. But more importantly, if you miss something, you want to come back and replay it, we're going to make that accessible to you. On behalf of myself, Tom Gallo, Don Grime, our entire sales team and Island sales team, and just some really good folks that are out there, we want to thank you for investing in us for the last hour. We hope that we made your day better. Now go out, be good people, and be good to yourselves. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.